5.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is your boy 5Piece, producer and engineer extraordinaire, and today I'm checking in with another recording focused tutorial. This one is specifically close to me because I'm also a mixing engineer. I mix a lot of people's music, and I find a lot of people record their vocals too loud or too hot. Sometimes they're actually distorting and clipping, and this presents a very problematic situation for the mixing engineer because you can't really fix something that's broken at the recording phase. So in today's lesson, I wanted to do a specific talk about how to set levels when recording so that you can pass them on to your mix engineer, or if you're mixing them yourself, you'll be able to achieve a clean mix and get what you want out of it without having any of that problematic stuff that I was talking about. So before I get into that, maybe let's just talk about my setup and what I'm recording on, and I'll show you an example of how to set levels as well. What I'm using for my recordings right now is a Shure SM7B microphone, which is what you see here. I got my Shure SM7B running into a Cloudlifter. A Cloudlifter is a separate DI box that essentially adds a lot of clean gain to the signal of the Shure because it is not a sensitive mic. You need a lot of gain, at least 60 to 70 dB of gain on your preamp to get it there. And in order to even get that, that usually means using all of the gain on your preamp. So for that reason, I use the Cloudlifter. It helps add that volume for me. And then I actually set my volume level on the preamp itself. And what I'm doing for my preamp right now is I'm using my Apollo Twin mic line 1 input. So it's just the stock interface preamp. But I find that in combination with the Cloudlifter as well as some strategic effects and mixing will always get me the result that I want in my recordings and mixes. Now that's personal to me, but maybe you could find that helpful and find a way to apply that in your setup. So let's actually talk about setting levels, okay? The way that I set levels is you want to make sure that you are maximizing dynamic range, okay? Dynamic range is essentially how loud and quiet your sound gets throughout the entire track. Now, when an artist is performing vocals, and this is what we're focusing on today specifically, but everything I'm about to tell you is applicable to other sounds as well. But when an artist is spitting vocals, for example, or a rapper spitting vocals, they might be really quiet at times like this, and then they might get really loud and dynamic and go crazy. And that presents a problem when setting a level, because if you're setting a level for something that's too quiet at times, like I'm doing right now, then when they get really loud, you might end up clipping and running into these problems that I find I encounter when mixing other people's tracks that they've recorded at home or with other people. So what you want to do when you're setting your level is you want to make sure that you're, maximizing dynamic range, aka making sure that it's as loud as it possibly can be within reason. But at the same time, you want to preserve headroom. So headroom is the distance from the top of the track, right? If I go to this view and look at my recording track, 0 is the top of the track, right? So I want to preserve the headroom, let's say from 0 to -6 dB, okay? I want to preserve that amount of headroom. That's going to leave that amount of volume open, and it'll allow me or the mixing engineer or whoever to turn it up later if they need to, but then it'll also be loud enough where if that person is turning it up, it's not going to raise the noise floor. When I say raise the noise floor, that essentially means bringing up noise that might also be on recordings, like white noise, hiss, background stuff, etc. So maybe we'll just do a quick example here. I'm not really an artist. I'm a producer engineer. I don't really play an artist on the internet, but sometimes I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this. This is the same template from a previous lesson. Got the same beat queued up and everything. And what you want to do is when you're setting your levels is you want to just get your artist or whoever to do a take that you're recording, but this take is specifically focused just on setting the level. It'll help give you an idea of how loud they're getting. And then you could set the level accordingly so that you're not clipping. And sometimes you have to reassess this at times. They might, not get too loud when you're initially setting the level, and then later you're recording and then it gets too loud. That's your job as an engineer, to go in, turn it down a little bit, give yourself a little bit more headroom, knowing that they are getting too loud and dynamic, okay? So we're gonna do this. I'm gonna just spit a couple of bars. Don't judge me. And we'll just see, I'll give you a few examples of where you wanna set it, when it's set right, and maybe an example of when I get too dynamic and how they could introduce some problems. So let's try something here. I'm I'm gonna record name of my track. Yeah, I'm getting kinda loud, oh my goodness, I am so loud, this is overcrowded. But then I'm down here, it's too quiet, so I gotta find a middle ground, man, I gotta find it. If I do not find it, then I'm gonna lose it. I gotta rewind the damn music, da-da-da-da-da-do-da. You get the idea. At the beginning, I was getting very dynamic. I was definitely getting close to that clipping point, if not hitting it. I'm actually surprised that I didn't fully clip there. But I was just getting too loud, obviously using too much dynamic range and leaving absolutely no headroom in the mix. That's problematic. That's something that you don't want. Now, after I got a little bit quieter, I was starting to hit about this -10 or less range. Still definitely good. It's better than, clipping completely, but it was a bit quiet. So your sweet spot is really trying to find a way to get it so that the peaks or the loudest point is essentially capping out at -6. So I could actually potentially either turn up my preamp a little bit, assuming that if I were to perform this, I was doing it more on that quiet approach, or if I found that I was way too loud as I was at the beginning, or if the artist that you're working with is too loud as it was at the beginning, you would want to take your preamp down, turn it down a little bit, leave a little bit more headroom, and hopefully get it so that when they're at their loudest, it's hitting that -6 dB kind of range on your meter. So that kind of summarizes the lesson. I mean, it's very simple and quick, but this is super important. I mean, if you don't know already, whatever you record, you're ultimately handing that off to the mixing guy and the mastering guy. And if you don't record something well, they're not really going to be able to do anything with that, and they're not going to be able to make something that you like. They definitely are not going to be able to make it sound as clean as you want because it's broken at the recording level, and ultimately whatever happens there affects everything else in the process. So I hope you got a lot of value out of this tutorial. I'm going to ask that you please share this with your friends, your producer friends, artist friends, engineer friends, anybody who's recording vocals and who probably needs a lesson or a refresher on how to record them properly, because this again is something that I commonly find in a lot of sessions that I mix. So thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And if you have any questions, leave them down below. I would love to help you solve your problems when it comes to recording, mixing, mastering, and soon production as well. So this is your boy 5P signing off. See you later, guys.
5.